Hey guys, what's up? So in this one, we're going to be covering the Baal Guild Boss for P5X Global version 2.3. This is week 2 of the Guild Bosses, and Baal is back again. Obviously, it's Messa's patch, so no surprise here. But it is the other version of the boss, where instead of like the 6 turns, where like the score goes up, by 0.5 each turn or whatever, it's the version where if you kill him, you get 2 weakened phase turns. So these fights tend to be a little bit shorter. Yeah, I'm not going to go over the special effects too much because they're kind of tailored to what Messa's going to be doing regardless. And this is the team we'll be running here: Moko 1, Wonder 2, Cord 3, Messa 4 with Wind as Navi, and then Wonder will be running Ex Machina with Chernobog, Dominion, and Yanosik. If you have Messa's dagger, I forget what it's called, but it's the new dagger in the metal shop, you can use that here. I just haven't bought it yet, and I figured more people would have Machina anyway. And then I'll try and put the slot-ins on screen. It's a little bit difficult this week because the strategy varies greatly depending on what units you have. So if you don't have Messa and you're using Ryuji, then the team I'm running on the other side for closer is not going to work for you. So it's kind of hard to do slot-ins because the teams change so drastically. But I will try and make sense of it kind of on the screen as best I can. Do keep in mind that if you don't have Messa, I will do a Ryuji video again. It'll probably come out 2 or 3 days from now after I finish both sides of the guild boss videos. I'll go back and I'll do a Ryuji run. But yeah, obviously, if what I have on screen doesn't answer your question, feel free to just put it down in the comments and I will do my best to answer whatever you got for me. Moving into the personas, you don't have to have Chernobog. So anything Chernobog does in the first 2 turns will not carry over to our weakened phase turns because we have a steady, at least for what I have here, I have a steady 3-turn rotation with Dominion and Yanosik using their skills throughout the fight. So you don't have to bring him. You can bring Komakutsun in the first slot just to satisfy the physical persona. I'll be using Chernobog in the first 2 turns. Again, you can just bring Komakutsun and use, Rebellion, Revolution, whatever, or if you have other skills on him, Rakunda, whatever you want to do. And for Dominion, you'll need Cohesion and Tarakaja. We're going to be using both of them here, but I don't think Tarakaja is too difficult to train on. It's a good skill for him to have regardless. And then Yanosik, we're just going to be using Rakunda. I would recommend training Rakunda on him if you don't have it. I think it's one of the best skills that synergizes with his passive. And then my Messa is running Wisdom and Oppression. My Cord is running Trust and Prosperity. My Moko is running Harmony and Victory. And my Wind is running Resolve and Labor. But yeah, I don't think I have a ton else. Otherwise, I will see you when we get into the fight. Alright, so we are going to start off by using Hail Summer Days on Messa. And then, like I said, I'm going to use Verdict of Agony. If you have Komakutsun here, you can use whatever you want. These first 2 turns for Cord and for Wonder are really kind of unimportant. Even right now, I'm going to use Wonder's Highlight, and it's an increased damage taken by 19.6% for 2 turns. Well, in 2 turns, we're still not going to be in the weakened phase, so it really doesn't make any difference. So it really doesn't matter all that much, honestly. Cord is just going to basically pump Distortion until we get to the 3rd turn so she can start buffing. Messa will go ahead and use Moonlit Scalpel. That's kind of what we're waiting for. We're waiting for Messa to get to 10 turns of bleed to kind of start our final rotation, if that makes sense. And then obviously if your Messa's higher than a 0 like mine is, and you get the 10 bleed stack straight away. So if you do have a higher awareness Messa, you might be able to do this in 4 turns, in which case just kind of do what I did on turn 1 and then skip this turn and then pick up where I start on next turn, basically is what I would suggest. And then Wind is going to go ahead and use skill 1. And then, I almost just called her Phoebe. Moko is going to go ahead and use her skill 3 on the boss. Wonder, I'm just going to use Chernobog again. Again, this is not a thing about Chernobog. This is just that's the skill I'm using because I'm trying to get to the next turn, basically. Same thing with Cord right now. I can't use Catchy Hook because Catchy Hook would probably kill him at the end of this turn with the bleed stacks, and I don't want that because I'm not buffed up yet. Then I wouldn't be able to use it again at the end of the fight, which is kind of why we're stalling out. So we can set this up properly. We can use Catchy Hook, we can use Cord's Highlight, we can use Messa's Highlight, and everything in the weakened phase. So we'll go ahead and use Moonlit Scalpel again, get us up to 10 bleed stacks. And now we can kind of start our final rotation. This is where these fights really start, is the turn before the weakened phase, and then the 2 turns in the weakened phase are really where these fights matter. Anything before really makes no difference outside of prepping you for these 3 turns. So now Wind is up again. So basically, if your Wind is not a 6, you'll want to just go ahead and either use skill 1 or just wait till next turn to use this. I can use skill 3 because I'll know I'll be able to act every 4 actions with Wind because of the decreased cooldown time. But if you can't, we really want to use her skill 1 and skill 3 in the weakened phase. So you would just kind of either just use the skill 1 till we get to the last turn, basically, or skip it and just stall until next turn. And with Moko, we're going to go ahead and use Hail Summer Days again. Now, this is when the highlights start to be important. So if you have a highlight available, it doesn't matter what you did the first time. As long as you have a highlight available right now, you should be fine. Because I'm going to swap the Dominion, and we'll use this highlight here. And then I'll use Tarukaja. And then Cord can use Unison Notes, and now you see we start all the buffs, because these are all 3-turn buffs. And then we're going to go ahead and use Crimson Operation. I don't think it really matters what you use here, outside of if you Ripper mode and skill 2 and eat all the bleed stacks. Don't do that. But anything else you do really doesn't matter. Like, for the most part, you're going to kill him or the bleed's going to kill him. And now this is where you would want to start with Wind with the skill 1. Now this defense down will last through the rest of the weakened phase. And then next turn we can use your skill 3 for Messa's 2 highlights. But for now, we'll go ahead and go back to Sparkling Memories. Wonder will now swap to Yanosik, and we can use Rakunda. Get the mark for the last 2 turns. Cord can use Distortion. We'll kind of stall for the 1 more turn to get more buffs on before we use Catchy Hook. And now we can use Cord's highlight. Messa, again, I'm going to go ahead and use the skill 2. If you're a higher awareness Messa, maybe you get more out of using a different skill. It's just hard to say. At A0, though, his bleed tends to do more than his skills, and that kind of changes as you scale up with his awarenesses. So at A0, you almost want to like prioritize his bleed stacks more than his actual skills, whereas I think that changes as your awarenesses get higher. But now Wind is back up, so we'll go ahead and use this. Doesn't matter on who. Everyone gets the buff from this. Moko, we use Hail Summer Days on Messa again. Wonder will swap back to Dominion, and we'll use Cohesion on Messa. Now we can use Catchy Hook. And the Messa can use his own highlight. And then I'm going to go ahead and use the skill 2 here. Again, if you're a higher awareness Messa, or you feel like there's some other action here that's better for you. The reason I'm using the skill 2 is because it procs the bleed stacks. And because he has 1 turn left, quote unquote, he's going to get the bleed to proc anyway. So if you use the Ripper mode and skill 2, you eat the 10 stacks, so you don't get the proc again from his turn. So basically, you're getting like double procking of the 10 bleed stacks, plus whatever damage this does, which is more to me than whatever my skill 2 would do in Ripper mode. And I imagine if you're A0, it's the same for you. So yeah, 46. I think 47 was like my best I could do on this. So yeah, hopefully this was of some use to you. Again, I'm still kind of like iffy on Messa. He's so weird because it's like, it's really hard to buff someone who's just like relying on like dot stacks to do most of his damage. But this is kind of the best I could come up with. I'm sure there's some, there's a better way out there. But yeah, I hope that, you guys found some use in this. Hope it was helpful. If you were a little bit confused on maybe what to do here. Again, I will do a Ryuji one probably a few days after this, 2 or 3 days after this. So if you're waiting on that, apologies. I just want to do both sides before I do any kind of alternate teams. If you have questions, until then, leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer whatever I can. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys watching as always. I will see you on the next one and have a good one.